Because if we got 2 million African people in this town, the enemy is not one organization against the next. The enemy is the television set. Because 1,999,000 Africans are somewhere else watching television. So you shouldn't be getting mad at each organization. Our common enemy is the TV. So if we want to blow up anything, we ought to be blowing up a TV station. You know, rather than talking about one group against the other. Am I right? 2 million Africans, the problem ain't my group or this group. It's the problem with white folks. We always get confused. Negroes competing against each other. When 1,999,000 Africans are at home watching television. So why are we competing against each other? That's foolish. Man, I don't like that group. He took some people away from me. Should have been over here tonight. No, we should be going in these homes and dragging them out. That's what the problem is. Problem is not these groups. We got to get properly defined to know who the enemy is. No black man or woman is my enemy. I don't call 911. If I got a problem, I'm going to deal with you myself. The only people to call 911 is us. Only ones. Because we do not have any self-government to take care of our own problems. Crackers shouldn't be in the neighborhood. And they certainly shouldn't be getting no 911 calls. We want to make the police department better. Police shouldn't even be in the community. Talking about a civilian review board, there shouldn't be no police department in our community. It ain't one in the Hasidim community. They don't police nobody in the community but ours. Forget about a civilian complaint review board. Let's get rid of these crackers totally. And let's police ourselves. If you got to call crackers, you need to be beaten up. Now you do. People talk about I'm a nation. Well, form a nation. You can form a nation here. We can set up the institution before we go to these 5 states. Nobody got to get on 5 states first before you form a nation. We can be a nation now. Somebody get out of line, we can call court right now. We can set our own police department in. Not ask crackers for none of this. I'm not asking crackers for nothing. That's why you don't see me out here with all this crap no more. I'm not begging these crackers no more. Let's form our own government. Form our own police department. Form our own military. Form our own Secretary of State. Have our own ambassador. Who can stop us from doing that? I don't have to go to no United Nations, ask no cracker for that. Am I right? Have our own government. People talk about the Jews. But no, Jews do not go and fight for America. There ain't no Jews in the military. All right? Because they have their own government. Right here. They got a government in Crown Heights. And Williamsburg. So let's form our government. Police come in their neighborhood, they whip them. For trespassing. I'm not going to spend the rest of my life begging crackers for nothing. I'm declaring myself free right now. And I'm going to act accordingly. Making no demands on these crackers. Who are they? In caves where we were selling the world. And you'll be asking them for something. This is madness. When y'all get ready to form something, give me a call. I ain't marching nothing, nowhere no more. When y'all get serious and want to form something, give me a call. When y'all get tired of marching and begging and pleading, then give me a call. I'm not going out there begging on crackers for nothing, including my license or their license. These crackers want to give it back, that's their problem. That's what happened there. 3 years. Well, why he asked for it? Why would he demand it? It's your license, crackers. If these crackers took something that belonged to me, I'll be down there whipping butt. They ain't took nothing that belonged to me. Didn't belong to me. And I wasn't going to do what they wanted me to do with it. Crackers don't give you no license to protect the community. They give you a license to do in the community. I'm in better health right now. And I will run around these courts fighting for everybody. It's madness. I'm not begging, pleading, or nothing. When y'all get ready to form a government, give me a call. I'll write the Constitution. Just one final point, I'm through. This is for tomorrow night, and this is important. I'm going to be there, and I want everybody here to be in Midtown Manhattan tomorrow evening. All right? Gary Bird, his installments. I want everybody. Who's coming? I'm going to give it in 1 minute. But for Gary, you should be there anytime. It don't make no difference. Yeah, Gary, what time is it? All right, 6:30. I was filibustering. I didn't see the time on here. And it's not on here. Otherwise, I would have given it to you. All right, but let's listen to this. And this is very important. We all got to be out there tomorrow night. Everybody. Everybody. Because crackers are going to be counting tomorrow night. Y'all understand that? They're going to be counting tomorrow night. They're going to be somewhere with a ticker tape. Counting. Seeing how many of us show up. If we don't show up tomorrow night, I can guarantee you in 2 weeks, Gary's going to be off the air. All right? That's how serious this is. This man is against nature and the truth. You got free speech as long as you're telling lies. Then you got free speech. You start telling the truth, you no longer have free speech. People say, well, why did they bust Jeffries and then bust Levin? Because Levin was lying and Jeffries was telling the truth. It had nothing to do with the color of their skin. It had something to do with the content of their character. Levin is a liar. Free speech protects lies. That's why Carter G. Wilson wrote The Miseducation of the Negro. That's all you get in this school is lies. But tomorrow night, Imhotep Gary Bird installment celebration. Brother Imhotep Gary Bird was recently twice installed as an African chief in Ghana. A celebration to officially welcome him back from his historic installments will be held on Thursday, January 21st, 1993. The event will take place at Club Harambe, located at 127 West 43rd Street between 6th Avenue and Broadway. Brother Imhotep Gary Bird will talk to us about the importance of this Ghana cultural experience. Exciting video highlights of the historic African trip will be shown and delicious cuisine will be available. John Imhotep Gary Bird, come and share this important celebration. Make your reservation by calling 718-472-4677. I'm going to say that twice again. By that time, everybody should know it by memory. 718-472-4677. 718-472-4677. That is Owens Communications in Queens. Owens Communications in Queens will be giving you directions and information tomorrow. Call Owens Communications in Queens at that number. You can get out a phone directory if you don't have a pencil. But everybody know when you come to the Slave Theater, there's two things you got to have in order to get in here: a pencil and a pad. In the future. All right, a pencil and a pad. So tomorrow night, this is serious. I'm telling you, this is serious. It makes a difference. Black people have begun to call the governor about the license and about Sharpton's case. And the governor is making phone calls now. All right? They are getting letters and they're making phone calls because he knows he has to run in 94. All right? I deal with it. All right? But that's important. So it's important tomorrow night. Can you imagine if everybody in the Slave Theater be down there tomorrow night? What signal that'll send to everybody? All right? All of us who do not like Leon Lewis should be there tomorrow night to make a point. All right? That's why I'm going. You report it. You report it in LIB tomorrow morning. I'm going to be there tomorrow night to protest. I do not like what I hear from 7 to 10 in the morning. And I don't care who likes it, who doesn't like it. Because I say what I mean and mean what I say. To anybody. All right, so tomorrow night, that's important. If we don't do nothing else, tomorrow night, please, 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 be at 127 West 43rd Street in Manhattan. And so now, you will not hear from me again. We get ready to get into some serious business now. Serious business. Let us again welcome the return of Chief Imhotep Gary Bird.
Brothers and sisters, without any further ado, may we rise and welcome our elder, Dr. John Henrik Clarke.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I have said on more than one occasion that for 500 years the world has been ruled by white nationalism. It was set in motion by a concept of a new world order. Anytime a European announces a new world order, you'd better run like hell or get your gun and shoot like hell. Anytime a German uses the word Reich, better give him some land, a secure burial ground for yourself. There are certain characteristics that came out of Europe that never manifested itself the same way in other people. I'm going to be talking about the present and looking back at the past at the same time, because the present is always the past and the past is always the present. History is always with us, and all history is a current event. Everything that ever happened continues to happen. Now, what set in motion that concept that led to global white supremacy? And how was it that the massive people in Asia, in Africa, in the South Sea Islands, let them pull away, let them pull over on them the greatest trick in human history, an inadequate group of human beings, juvenile delinquents with guns that should have been taken away from them in the first place and could have been taken away from them in the first place. They came out of Europe after they turned on themselves and created a dark age for themselves. Now, having exhausted their resources in the silliness of the crusade, in famines and plagues, they were hungry, cold, and evil. They had no sentimental attachment to any people, not even themselves. They were looking around for something to eat. And they developed maritime skill mostly through China. They used that skill to turn on the people who had preserved that skill, the Africans and the Arabs at the University of Salamanca in Spain. The sunrise of white supremacy globally is the 15th and the 16th century. Prior to that period, there was no white people, no black people, no brown people. You did not identify people based on color. There was no concept in the world that one people should prevail over another people because of someone's true faith. To say that I've got the true faith, that means all other faiths are false. And that's a hypocritical lie told in the name of God. But now, with the pressure of the European coming back into the Mediterranean, challenging the Africans and the Arabs who had been controlling it since 7/11, the area having been conquered for them by an African, Tariq bin Azad. Now, Spain got enough independence, though she was still under colonial rule, to begin to have colonial aspirations. When Spain and Portugal went to the Pope was the arbitrator of all disputes in the world of that day. And the Pope said to Spain and Portugal, you are both authorized to reduce to servitude all infidel people. White supremacy had been endorsed by the church. It would now set in motion the longest and the greatest act of genocide and the most tragic Holocaust in human history. They would drain the whole world of resources to recover from their own internal disputes. I am emphasizing this now because once more they have drained their resources to the point where they will go outside of Europe, create a rationale for the conquest of other people, the exploitation of the resources of other people, to recover from the ways that they are responsible for. If you are naive enough to think that someone goes into Somalia for humanitarian reasons to feed some Africans, you are set. There are whites starving all over this country. Hillbillies in the Kentucky mountains, Blue, all over this country, prostitution is an industry. If the white woman was so sacred, why are the pimps running this industry? And why has it always prevailed why they prevail? So if he was so humanity, if he got so much humanity, he got to spare some for the Africans. Why didn't he spare some for his own mother, his own sister? So who are you lying to? Now, because this caveman came out of Europe in fear, he had to destroy competition. And when they come on you, even today, they don't come by ones, they don't come by twos. You never hear of a one man lynching one man. They are terribly insecure that those years in that ice took some humanity away from them, if indeed they started with any. Now, when they came out into this broader world, they had enslaved Europeans under the guise of feudalism, but that was slavery. And in the Children's Crusade, they had enslaved not only their children, but sold some of their own children to the infidel Arabs they were supposed to be fighting. And if we understood his mind at this juncture in history, instead of inviting him for dinner, treating him like a gas, you'd have killed him on sight. He had nothing but evil on his mind, and we fell into his trap because we believed he was a part of humanity. And we believe that if I'm a part of humanity, that all men are an extension of me and part of my humanity. The African tried to bring man in harmony with nature. The European defies nature. The African might go walk on the moon one day, but they're going to have a prayer meeting first. And if the gods say, not favorable, you're going to stay behind on the ground. A spiritual human being works out a logical reason based on spirituality for the things he does. The European is guided by need and greed, and there are no thou shalt nots in his religion. He turns all things into a negative force. He would take some admissions of purity and honesty. He would extract 10 of the 42. He would call this the negative confession. It wasn't negative and wasn't confessions. He would change the language around and said, thou shalt not. The African didn't say nothing about thou shalt not. He said, I have not. We were pleading, we were standing before our teachers standing before our people and said, I have not violated my neighbor's wife. I have not done thus and so. Now he takes and twists the language around and says, thou shalt not. It's a command. Now it's a command. Otherwise, it was a voluntary admission. That's distrust of other, in the mutualizations of other people's spirituality. Because his own culture is so weak and not defendable, he have to mutilate the cultures of other people so his culture will have no competition. He has to colonize God. He has to colonize the image of God. He has to say, God looks like me. And he got you worshiping a picture painted by Michelangelo. He had to colonize history. If you think that there's something only current about this fight over who were the Egyptians, this fight over curricula, it's a life and death struggle. Because when we define who the Egyptians were, he's going to have to go back to his computer and rewrite his whole history. This child who wasn't born when Egypt flourished. You can't say, now, where did it come from? It couldn't have come from Europe because there was no Europe. It couldn't come from Western Asia because politically they wasn't functional. Then you have to ask yourself a question. Why would anybody build in someone else's country a civilization over and above anything they built in their own country? This is why they cannot. Look at the Nile River stretching 4,000 miles into the body of Africa. Now, just for the sake of conversation, let's just say that the Egyptians were white. Okay. That great labor supply came from the South. A lot of the technicians came from the South. Experimental pyramid building came from the South. 4,000 years of that, and the biological necessity being what it is, could they still be white after 4,000 years? But they wasn't white in the first place. So we don't even need the hypotheses. But this whole thing over who were the Egyptians and who built the civilization of the Nile Valley, it plagues them because if they didn't do it, then they've told a lie straight across the board about our mind. And once we recapture our mind and realize that over half of human history was over before we knew a European was in the world, and we had functioning societies, then you're going to start nation building again. You're going to start with yourself. You're going to start with your community. You're going to start with the restoration of confidence and the restoration of image. When a people restore that confidence, they must restore that image of God as they originally conceived him or her to be. We had no problem with the her. That's somebody else's hang up. Now, when he adopted a belief system, all adopted from other people, he turned all organized religions into male chauvinist murder cults. We have not examined to what extent religions have been the handmaidens of conquerors, created by foreigners, fakers, and fools. Now, I'm not against anyone's spirituality or anyone's belief system. I am highly spiritual myself. I am against all of the charlatanism, all of the money changing that takes so much of your time and gives you back nothing of consequence. I'm against all of this misguided energy. It is a pacifier. And you need to grow up to the point where you will not need this pacifier. He needed a justification for slavery. So his justification is these people have no souls. Now, if he believed in the religion he said he believed in it, he would not enslave you because you have no soul. He would have kindness and pity and some humility because you have no souls. If God is love and God is grace and God is kind, then to follow him is not to enslave, but to enhance those lesser than you, weaker than you. But he used his strength to confuse people and to weaken other people. And we bought it. We laughed at our gods. And each time we mount a revolution, it is dismantled from within and from without by images. And because we are forced in some way not to believe in ourselves, there is a wholeness that every person on this earth needs. And that is a concept of a place in the world, geography, that you can point to as a place of origin and feel proud about it whether you ever go there. That was my beginning. That was my home in the world. That was my mothership. Frederick Douglass, in his old age, once said, the Republican Party is the ship for the Negro. All else is the open sea. It's a ridiculous statement, but the symbols are good. I say Africa is our mothership. All else is a strange land. When you're out of it, you're away from home. The crisis in the global white supremacy today, the crisis that started soon after World War I, World War II, is that in the 15th and the 16th century, the European colonized most of the world. Europe was his home. Some enclaves outside of Europe, like the United States, there was a mulatto colony called continent called South America. The rest of the world was his servants' quarters. And what the world is facing right now is a revolt in the servants' quarters. The servant will not be restful in those quarters, wasn't too restful in the first place. The servant is looking for the state for the mind, the state for the soul, the state to house his culture, the state where he can be full man, a place in the world where he will not have to grapple and ask permission to live, where the manhood can flourish and the womanhood can flourish, where he can look at his child and take care of his child and be proud of the seed of a crop still to come. And once they take that away from you, you become dependent on him, you have lost the mothership. In this country, a nation within a nation searching for a nationality. This is why, under the impact of white supremacy, we want to be someplace we are loved. We want to be someplace we are wanted. And sometimes we get defensive. I'm in America, I'm in America, I'm an American. Please accept me. I'm in America. Because you are conscious of the fact that you wasn't brought here to be given citizenship. You wasn't brought here to be in America. You were brought here to be labor. You became surplus. You're a floating nation, not wanted any place, not wanted in America, and no Africans ever invited you home. The strangest and the saddest, the most complicated nation in all the world, floating in a sea of white supremacy. A child can't find his way back home. I'm saying there's only one solution for us, only one solution for the Caribbeans, and only one solution for Africa. Pan-African nationalism. I call it the essential selfishness of survival. It is the role of the teacher, it is the role of the preacher, it is the role of the thinker to ask and answer the question, how will my people live on this earth? First and foremost on my agenda, how will they be fed? How will they be educated? How will they be housed? In answering the question, in setting in motion the organizational structure that will bring that about and answer the question, I am rebuilding the concept of nation responsibility. And this is what we have to get back to. We have to think nation inside of our head and try to make it into a reality. And form a connection all over the world. And realize that the culture container for us is the restoration of the state. You do not have a single African state in Africa because they were all set up by global white supremacy. These states are too restrictive. The borders are artificial. The African did not live in little tight nation states. He lived in territorial states. 16 clusters of states living together, different religions, different belief systems. We have to get back to something that we designed with our own mind. We have to throw out that constitution and write new ones that fits our culture. He is afraid of women in power. We must stop. Because we created a society where women's place was different. Her role was different, but it was equal in importance. There were certain things that couldn't function without her. You couldn't think of a God without